Have you ever considered the name for Shroom Ridge is just Mushroom Bridge without the mush and the B? The revelation that the Mario Kart devs did this with the naming of this track is a revelation that keeps me up at night. When I'm not harassing streamers I mod for to play Mario Kart with me, I love pouring hours into Mario Kart whenever I can, casually playing Mario Kart 8 online or playing through the Grand Prix of past games. The Mario Kart series are comfort games for me, you know, the comfort of getting blue shelled 3 times in a race. They are games I can always come back to and find enjoyment in, simple kart racing fun with a gameplay loop and racing action I find endlessly enjoyable. But how did I end up getting into the Mario Kart series and developing a kart-fueled addiction? That all started with a little game called Mario Kart Double Dash. I know, based on the title of this video, you feel like I clickbaited you and you were frantically looking for that X on the right side of your monitor, but, let me elaborate here. My first exposure to the fun of Mario Kart was with one of my best friends, Tommy, when he introduced me to Double Dash back in 2005. I mostly enjoyed being his item jockey back then because frankly the game controller was a bit too much for my young mind to get wrapped around, but all the fun we had playing that game whenever I came over to his house ignited my love for the series and for the competitive but ridiculous action of Mario Kart. I didn't have the chance to own Double Dash in its heyday, but I did have the chance to finally own a Mario Kart game of my own with my new Nintendo DS Lite in the Christmas of 2006, getting Mario Kart DS alongside it.
DS.
The amount of hours I put into this bad boy is unmatched by most games. I absolutely adored this game, even deleting all my save data to unlock everything again. It was endless fun to play console quality tracks like Waluigi Pinball, Delfino Square, and Airship Fortress, great battle mode courses like N64 Block Fort, Twilight House, and the funny Nintendo DS, all on a handheld console I could take anywhere. And with local multiplayer where other DS owners could play without even owning the game via DS download play, online multiplayer, one of Nintendo's first attempts on a handheld console no less, and the introduction of retro courses doubling the amount of tracks in a Mario Kart game, it was an insane package that I played with friends throughout the entire life of the Nintendo DS. Mario Kart DS is a big contributing factor to why I fell in love with video games. It introduced me into gaming and is the first game I truly loved. This game is a part of why I still love video games, and I don't see another reality where I love video games nearly as much, or I'm into the content creation that I found a love for after this game launched my interest in the hobby. But before I continue to espouse my love for Mario Kart DS, let's look into the history of Mario Kart DS for some context. On May 11th, 2004 at E3 2004, Nintendo announced a new Mario Kart game for the Nintendo DS, showing a gameplay demo. Shortly with creative titles such as Super Mario 64 x 4, a DS remake of Super Mario 64 shown at the show too, surely Mario Kart for the Nintendo DS will have a creative title. Aw, damn it. Mario Kart DS, also known as Mario Kart 5 if you're a math major or Nintendo after 2011. The E3 2004 gameplay demo for Mario Kart DS is noticeably different than the final build of Mario Kart DS, sporting karts that are similar to the final build but with noticeable differences in drifting mechanics that more closely resemble the drifting of Mario Kart 64, not the drifting system that Mario Kart DS modernized and is reflected even within Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Wait, we used to have E3 press conferences? There was no OT Games Expo in 2004? They should bring back the Star Fox puppets. I want to see Reggie commit arson and manslaughter again. The speedometer on the right side of the top screen is something not present in the final build of Mario Kart DS, not even as an option like in Mario Kart 64. It is likely it was a carryover from Mario Kart Double Dash, and I assume it was taken out because it would crowd the small top screen of the original Nintendo DS, and may have been awkward to place on the bottom screen, where it would have not provided the player much feedback on their speed while they're focused on racing. There are some noticeable graphical differences as well, such as time, lap, and the character names using the Mario Kart font from 64, Double Dash, and Super Circuit rather than the font used in Mario Kart DS. The timer and lap counter feature a different font too, and the lap counter was originally on the bottom screen. The sound effects are different as well, normal for an early build of any game. At GDC 2005, we got our first look at the logo for the game, and yeah, it's very much a standard Mario Kart logo. I like it. Something I can say for the E3 2005 version of the Mario Kart DS logo as well. I like how it used the wacky Mario Kart font from 64, Super Circuit, and Double Dash, and I like how both employ DS into the logo, especially the E3 2005 version, putting the racing flag on it. I can't show the same enthusiasm for the final logo of Mario Kart DS though. Like, what is this? What happened? Look how they massacred my boy! I just don't understand this logo change or this logo. This logo is so serious looking. The E3 logo looked like it wanted to be my friend. This logo looks like it's going to ask me if I paid my taxes. And what are those red lines? I don't know. I'm gonna drive myself mad if I contemplate this any longer. Moving on. Mario Kart DS, also known as Holy sh**, they made another one! Released on November 14th, 2005, or as a religious follower of the GameCube would classify it as, November 14th, 4GE. Look, history before the GameCube is just not important. It's irrelevant. Like, what happened? World War I?
World War I didn't have Super Smash Bros. Melee. It had unrestricted submarine warfare. That's pretty lame in comparison.
This was roughly a year into the Nintendo DS's life cycle, the perfect time to release a Mario Kart game when there's excitement around the handheld console and games are only beginning to pour out. First, we have the game box, and yes, I'll drop the logo talk. I hear you. I hear you. Overall, it's okay. I prefer the artwork of Mario Kart Double Dash or Mario Kart 8 over the white background with renders box arts of Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart Wii, but stylistically, it is a nice box art. Now, the back of the box, this is what I'm talking about. All of this talk of battling wireless buddies or playing with friends over the internet just takes me back to the pure fun of this title in the 2000s. I remember playing online races in this game or online battles in Super Smash Bros. Brawl while talking at my house phone with my friends. It was super scuffed, but it was so much fun back in the day. And 32 courses ranging from across the series with screenshots of Waluigi Pinball in mission mode? Well, damn, I gotta pop the game in now. But before we do that, we have the instruction booklet. I miss these so much, even when they're fairly standard like this instruction booklet. I love how the game uses the redesign of the mushroom, golden mushroom, and the star, yet the instruction booklet uses the old designs from Mario Kart Double Dash. It is a charming oversight. Okay, now to actually pop the sucker into my DS. Pure euphoria. I personally really like this title screen. It is fairly simple, but more interesting than the box art with a nice little race preview and the music. It is so nostalgic for me and a total bop. The bottom screen has a variety of options, and first we're going to start off by creating our emblem. I love emblems. I wish this feature was present in future Mario Kart titles after this release. They are such a fun way to express yourself on the racetrack, to show off the cool pixel art you can make, and to distinguish yourself locally and online. I understand why they are likely not in future titles. It is a content moderation concern, giving players the ability to draw whatever they want, including for worse, putting more liability on Nintendo and more for the devs to moderate online, but there's still such a cool feature I want to see return. And now with our emblem complete, before we jump into single player and Grand Prix, let's tackle the general mechanics of Mario Kart DS and the items you'll find in this Mario Kart. The mechanics are sort of a fusion of Mario Kart Double Dash and a modern Mario Kart title like Mario Kart 8. You can begin to see the transition between retro and modern Mario Kart with this game, a fusion I find fun and interesting. The drifting has been noticeably reworked. While it still does sorta emphasize short turbo boosts, it emphasizes longer turbo boosts with tighter, more controlled drifting. Not to the extent of Mario Kart 8, as excessive drifting in Mario Kart DS will slow you down, but is still a fascinating drifting system with its own meta. Another change in general mechanics that is notable is kart control. It is less precise than Mario Kart 8, however more precise than 64 or Double Dash arguably, allowing for greater movement to avoid items and make turns, but still with some of the stiffness that gives karts greater weight than Mario Kart 8. Hitting a wall is also pretty punishing in this game. Not only will it slow you down, walls can blast you in all sorts of directions, not slightly but in a whole new direction, making it essential to not even graze a wall. This can mean your certain quick demise and positions in the race, or off into the darkness of space, the pits of lava, or most feared, you'll drive into a lake like Michael Scott. I would also argue this game has much more rubber banding than Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart 8, which makes it more competitive but occasionally more annoying. It certainly isn't as present as Mario Kart Wii, but is a factor to consider, and it gets to me sometimes in this game. When it comes to items such as the banana, green shell, triple green shells, red shell, triple red shells, bomb, fake item box, lightning, mushrooms, triple mushrooms, golden mushrooms, star, boo, and blue shell all return from previous Mario Kart titles, and new items such as the triple bananas, bullet bill, and the blooper make their debut, items now considered standard within any Mario Kart title. Triple bananas are a great addition to add to the madness of Mario Kart, and as a counter to triple red shells and triple green shells being dragged behind you, rather than moving into circular motion like later in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The bullet bill is a great addition to help new players have a chance within a tough race, or for anyone who has had a tough race online or with friends, giving players a second chance to place much better. Also, it is just funny to watch and annihilate someone going 100 miles per hour. The blooper is an interesting, untraditional item, covering your screen in ink and obscuring your view, which I find really creative and a cool status effect to mess with other players. Anyways, let's jump into the single player and Grand Prix, which is where you can start off with 50cc, 100cc, or 150cc. I'm not particularly big on 50cc, it is just really slow. It's great for new players for sure, and still enjoyable to play through and unlock all the content associated with it, but I much prefer the speed and challenge of 150cc, and 100cc for that matter, as it is still fairly speedy and challenging. And by choosing our Grand Prix mode, we are presented with the character select screen, and you got all the classics here from Mario Kart 64, a very welcome beginning to your Mario Kart journey. We have Mario, Luigi, who is my personal choice because Luigi is sick, don't at me, Peach, Yoshi, Toad, Donkey Kong, rest in peace Donkey Kong Jr., but also I don't care. Why were you here in Super Mario Kart over Donkey Kong anyways? What, because you're small? Sorry, Short Kings, I want the big ape, Wario, and Bowser. However, in a unique and welcome change from 64, we have their standard carts as options alongside their new character-specific carts, all of which I generally like. Mario's B-Dasher is an awesome design that became an icon for the Mario Kart series. Luigi's Poltergust 4000 is another great card. It drives well, and it's a great reference to Luigi's Mansion, even canonically linked to the Luigi's Mansion series in a really cool way. Peach's Royal is cool enough, definitely very regal. Yoshi's Egg 1 is an egg like the ones he throws to murder poor Shy Guys minding their own damn business. Toad's Mushmallow is perfect for him, it's a mushroom, a speedy one at that. Donkey Kong's Rambi Rider is an awesome looking cart, and a great reference to Donkey Kong Country, reminds me of the canceled Donkey Kong racing game by Rare presented only years before. Wario's Brood is a lowrider, and also kinda makes him look like a mafia boss, something I'm canonically for. He would run the streets of Brooklyn in this beast. Bowser's Tyrant is fine, not big on the design, but it's a good enough fit. All of the character models are, well, a little rough. I could see why Mario Kart 64 went with character sprites. I swear Donkey Kong's elbows could cut butter like a knife, and Bowser looks a little off. And with that, let's choose our character, the based Luigi, and jump into the first cup of the Nitro Grand Prix, the Mushroom Cup. Figure 8 circuit is kinda boring. It's a fine track, it just feels like a really generic racing course, not like Luigi Circuit and Mario Kart Double Dash, but still has a lot of character themed around Luigi, and with an obstacle like the chain jump. I feel that Mario Kart 8 did this idea much better with Mario Circuit, with the anti-gravity mechanic enhancing the general basic nature of a figure 8 track. However, it's still a fine track to race on, I just have no interest in seeing it return in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's DLC. Now the next track, I f*** with. Yoshi Falls is a fun, simple course with 2 different path options you can go on throughout the course with boost pads to speed up the racing, and item boxes lined up along the waterfalls, making for a really fun course. This track was later featured in Mario Kart Wii, and I'd love to see it make a return in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's DLC. The third track of Mushroom Cup, Cheep G Beach, is a great track. I love the Caribbean inspiration with the bungalows at the beginning of the track, and racing along the beaches with fun ramps to jump off of, and great relaxing music. This track was later featured in Mario Kart 8, and I was all for it. Having this track in HD with an updated score, it's just generally a really good course. With the release of Luigi's Mansion in 2001, it was awesome finally having a track dedicated to that game, and one that takes some cool liberties, like the scary trees serving as moving obstacles in the mud section, and character with the pictures on the wall moving. I really like this track, and I have a lot of memories playing this track with friends, with some races coming down to battle in the mud section right before the close finish at the finish line. And that completes the Mushroom Cup. Overall, a really good cup with 3 great tracks and figure 8 circle if you like stock car racing. When it's all about NASCAR, brother, hell yeah, don't tread on me! And with that, we're on to the second cup, the Flower Cup, and my opinion doesn't change too much. They really kept the format of a boring first track followed by only bangers. Desert Hills sucks. I just don't like this course. The hills aren't fun because I can't really drift on them. The CPUs for some reason are really cracked on this track, and I know L skill issue, quite if you're born after the DS release, and I personally just find it to be a very generic desert track for the sake of there being a desert themed track. It is in Mario Kart Wii, and it's fine there. They improved the hill section, but no thank you. If I wanted to go to the desert, I would go to Barstow, and I hate Barstow. Finally, another track I f*** with. Not you. Get out. Delfino Square was a great track with really fun, tight turns to drift around, 2 interesting shortcuts, and a cool mechanic where the bridge lifts during the second lap and becomes a jump with an absolute bop playing while you're racing. This was also in Mario Kart Wii, but unlike the Barstow track, I can actually see myself playing and enjoying this track again in Mario Kart Deluxe's DLC. Definitely a must for me. One of the best tracks in the Mario Kart series and the best track in this game, Waluigi Pinball is so much fun to race on. I love the pinball casino-like theme when you leave the spring launcher like a pinball, with the pinballs chambered right beside you and launched alongside you on the track, serving as these massive obstacles as you travel down the lanes and into the pinball game itself, with bumpers blasting the balls everywhere for you to avoid, with multiple ways for you to travel down the course. Straight is obviously preferred through the middle bumper, electric bumpers to hit you like an actual pinball, which it does hit them too, with this massive sign of Waluigi looming with slots below him. I just love all the colors, the cool neon patterns and signs, and the amazing space background. It is not just an extremely creative track, putting you in what feels like an actual functioning pinball machine, but the turns are extremely fun to drift on, there are fun jumps to go off of, and the small details like the item shuffling to the sound of a slot machine are details I love. And this is without mentioning the music. It is so damn catchy and one of the most iconic Mario Kart themes. This is an example of a perfect Mario Kart track. It is extremely creative and extremely fun to race on, and to have it not just in Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart Tour, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe via DLC would be amazing and complement an already amazing track list in that game. And Waluigi is actually in this game, instead of Queen Bee that is in Super Mario Galaxy that you, climb all over her body and, like, all over her,
Yeah, personally, I'd rather have Waluigi.
Yeah, and Mario Kart. You don't mean...
You heard me.
And onto my sleep paralysis demon, Shroom Ridge. Look, other than the otherworldly, celestial, multiversal realization I had regarding the name of this track, it's a pretty good track. I enjoyed the insanity of a track with cars, much like Mushroom City, Mushroom Bridge, and Moonview Highway. I enjoyed the insanity of Mario Kart's E-rated vehicular manslaughter. Don't clip that out of context. Don't clip that out of context, please. It has really fun turns to drift on, and the feeling of being up on a mountainous, curvy road like family-friendly Ortega Highway, which I prefer not to drive on, is exhilarating like this, but getting knocked off of or flying off of a mountain going 80 miles per hour is funny in this game, not really in real life. Something tells me that might be bad for my health. Overall, a fun track. Glad it returned in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass. And with the completion of the Flower Cup, we unlock the Star Cup and finally actually start with a great track, DK Pass. DK Pass is a great track. The track combines what I like of Shroom Ridge and Waluigi Pinball, fun turns to drift on a mountainous curving road, and these massive obstacles in the form of snowballs tumbling down the mountain, with various jumps and uneven snow adding to the fun and creativity of the track, all culminating this epic jump down the mountain to the finish line, with a great winter theme that is pretty catchy. Oh, and the snowman, f*** those guys. Frosty the Snowman can go f*** himself. These little jerks line the end of the track and are easy to hit, ending your enjoyable tour on the mountain at the very end. Other than these abominable snow human posers, the track is really fun. I'd love to see it make a return in the Mario Kart series other than just Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart Tour. Tick-Tock Clock is another really creative track, all taking place in a massive clock based on the level from Super Mario 64 with cool clock-themed obstacles like this massive pendulum to avoid and all the clock cogs to drive on. It's awesome to see a reference to the main Super Mario series like this with an interesting perspective and with music reminiscent of Tick-Tock Clocks, with it only being leveled up in Mario Kart 8. And Mario Circuit is okay, it's good enough. Coming back to this game, it wasn't too memorable to me. I barely remember racing on this track, and for good reason. It just feels uninspired and generic. We've had tracks like this, get this, the just as creatively named Mario Circuit and Mario Kart Double Dash. I think it's serviceable, a good track. It is just not something I come back to. Now, Airship Fortress is a track I love coming back to. It feels so massive as you rush Bowser's airship on a stormy day, dodging bullet bills, Monty moles, and fire bars as you enter the engine room, all to be blasted by a canyon to a crumbling tower, reminding me of Ruined Kingdom nowadays, oddly enough, as you drift downwards the tower's spiraling pathway. It is all complemented by music that makes the situation feel dire and epic in scope. It makes for an awesome, inventive course that is fun to race on and feels like an experience. This is definitely a must-have for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass, with the track only criminally reappearing in Mario Kart 7, definitely one of the most large-feeling tracks in this game. And with the completion of the Star Cup, we unlock the Special Cup to experience this game's Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road. Our first stop, however, on our journey through the Special Cup is at Wario Stadium, and oh boy, it's good. This is one of those tracks that coming back to after Mario Kart 8, I feel underwhelmed by. It was massively improved in that game in a daytime setting with an added anti-gravity section and water section that makes it feel more distinct than the tracks it is very similar to, like Wario Stadium in Mario Kart 64 and Waluigi Stadium in Mario Kart Double Dash. Rather, in this game, I would describe it as a much better Wario Stadium than 64, but less inventive than Waluigi Stadium. It is generally fun to race on, with fun ramps to fly off of and fire bars to avoid, but ultimately, Waluigi Stadium had that and had an interesting cut-out Piranha Plant section, and was generally more interesting when it came to turns. I'm glad Mario Kart 8 justified its existence to a greater extent. It is just generally a good, okayish track in this game, rather. It was an excuse to get updated Waluigi pinball music in Mario Kart 8, so at least I'll take that. Oddly, they share the same music for some reason. But it is like motocross, hell yeah, brother! Peach Gardens is a generally good track. I think the Chain Chomp section is pretty fun, but all the turns feel very specific otherwise. There isn't much room here for drifting, and the flower section sort of drives me insane, and this is not because of my pollen allergy for once. It was fun in Mario Kart Wii as well, but I generally am not the biggest fan of this track and its theme. It's just an okay track. This Bowser's Castle is generally pretty darn good. I enjoy the cool spinning section with a shortcut I always prefer to take, the weird spiral section that is often a bit of a challenge to drift on. Good luck if you bump into a wall. You're either back on the bottom or in the lava. The spinning bar is a cool addition because it allows you to mess with your fellow players by knocking them off into an alternative lower path, and I like the moving platforms, a bit reminiscent of Super Mario 64. This isn't the best Bowser's Castle. I do prefer the scope of double dashes more at the time, but I can appreciate it for the track that it is. It generally has fun ideas that work well within the chaos of Mario Kart and a pretty great theme to boot. I will, however, defend this game's Rainbow Road tooth and nail, but a tooth combined with a nail does not sound pretty pleasant, so at least to a large degree, I'll defend it. This Rainbow Road is very inventive for a Mario Kart in 2005. It did anti-gravity sections right before Mario Kart 8 did, and they are super cool loop-de-loops, even if getting hit on them will send you into the dark, endless, lonely, and deathly void of space. I enjoy the turns like the long section with boost pads, and the general aesthetic with these multicolored pipes just chillin', and in my opinion, the best Rainbow Road theme. Nostalgia is definitely at play here. I have those rose tinted glasses on and I'm not taking them off. They are comfortable and help reassure my confirmation bias, but I'll be damned if this isn't an excellent Rainbow Road to end off the journey of the Nitro Cup. We unlocked Dry Bones by getting a gold trophy in the 50cc Special Cup. Last I heard, though, the Dry Bones fan base is dying. Retweet if you're a true boner. I like Dry Bones as an addition to the roster. He's much more interesting than a standard Koopa and a creative choice, previously only appearing as a playable character in Mario Party 7. I love the creepiness of Dry Bones driving a giant dead Dry Bones with his Banisher cart, giving off great horror vibes that greatly utilizes his character. And when it comes to Dry Bones' second exclusive cart, the Dry Bomber, why is he driving a German Tiger 1 tank, or even possibly a German Elephant tank destroyer? How did he get one of those? Speaking of second exclusive cart, by placing first overall in the 100cc Nitro Grand Prix, we unlock the third cart for each character, with some great new options here. Mario unlocks the Shooting Star, a design I like, and it drives really well, even if it is pretty small for Mario. The Streamliner for Luigi is okay, not really sure what it has to do with Luigi, it just looks fairly generic. Peach's Light Tripper has an appealing design and is a much more fun exclusive cart than the Roy, which is kind of bulky and doesn't drive nearly as well. The Cucumber, why the fuck is Yoshi driving a cucumber? Morty, I'm Cucumber Yoshi, Morty. They literally just attached some wheels to a cucumber, carved out a seat, and called it a day. It looks like Pickle Rick fully decked out. What a weird decision. I guess it drives well enough? I like Toad's four-wheel cradle. It looks sick and gives him a cart with some weight so he doesn't get cross-map tomahawked by Donkey Kong, banana slamming the mushroom off of Rainbow Road. I also like Donkey Kong's Wildlife. It's the type of vehicle you'd see on a safari, and I think it fits well, a creative choice and a great cart. Wario drives a tractor, and Bowser drives a fighter plane? I'm starting to sense a theme here. By placing first overall in the 150cc Mirror Nitro Grand Prix, you unlock a surprising, unexpected character for the Mario Kart series. Rob, the toy robot accessory from the Nintendo Entertainment System, used for Gyromite and Stack-Up, both released in 1985. While Rob has made cameo appearances in this era, such as in F-Zero GX and WarioWare Inc., this is actually his first playable appearance, predating his inclusion in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I absolutely love this creative character inclusion. It's such a weird reference to Nintendo's early video game history, and technically the first time Nintendo has included a video game character from a different franchise, and the only instance before Mario Kart 8. And with those inclusions like Link, Villager, and Isabelle, and in Deluxe, Inkling Boy and Inkling Girl, they are all from major franchises from Nintendo. Rob is very much not that. And Nintendo very much leans into this wacky reference with Rob's first exclusive cart, the Rob BLS, I hope it stands for Bacon, Lettuce, and Salami, which features 5 round trays with colored blocks with emblems printed on them, your own emblem actually if you have one on, and a reference to the actual Rob accessory used to play Stack-Up. His second exclusive cart, the Rob GLS, is a more direct reference to the NES, colored in the same color scheme, a creative change in the North American version from the Rob LGS in the Japanese version, which uses the Famicom color scheme. I believe LGS is a reference to legs, as the cart looks like it gives Rob legs, which is very creative. It also is kind of odd looking, as he just towers over players on racetracks now, rather than just being near the ground like the other ones. I would love to see this wacky character choice return in the Mario Kart series. It is so cool to have such a niche reference to Nintendo history in a major franchise like Mario Kart, featured in a game with only 4 unlockable characters. They could have easily chosen a more normal character, but they went with something interesting and unexpected. Something I didn't appreciate as a kid, but I still found really cool having this robot character that looks pretty awesome. And with that, let's move on to the Shell Cup, the beginning of the Retro Grand Prix, with a track from each Mario Kart game in each cup, in order from the 1st to 4th Mario Kart game. The SNES is Super Mario Kart 64, the Game Boy Advance is Super Circuit, and the GameCube's Double Dash. In an interview with Cube 3, producer Hideki Kano remarked that they included tracks from previous Mario Kart games into Mario Kart DS so that players who played the original Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo would feel more familiar with the DS iteration of the series. While I understand having retro courses such as those from the NES that are faithful to their original counterparts, they are sometimes too simplistic in Mario Kart DS, such as Mario Circuit 1 as we enter the first Retro Cup, the Shell Cup. It's an example of how they should have been more fleshed out like those in Mario Kart 8 with Donut Plains 3 or SNES Rainbow Road. I don't fault the game for not having the extensive new mechanics featured in modern Mario Kart titles to then make these courses a lot more interesting and manipulate them in very interesting ways. Rather, some of these SNES courses feel well boring here. This track, however, is still well designed and an enjoyable enough track, especially with items like mushrooms to take shortcuts, and it does test your drifting abilities, so it ultimately is a good inclusion. Moo Farms from Mario Kart 64 is an enjoyable inclusion. Sure, the Monty Moles can be frustrating, but they are a fun obstacle if you fly too close to the sun, aka drift too far inward, and like in 64, it's a great track, and I really like the farm theme. I'd love to see it receive a visual overhaul like Moo Meadows and Mario Kart 8. It's a classic track and a really good inclusion here. The third track, Peach Circuit from Super Circuit, is a decent addition. It is reasonable to expect retro courses on Mario Kart DS to be much closer to their original counterparts and much more by the books. It is less interesting than Mario Circuit 1, which has some more freedom to make shortcuts across its landscape, but it is still a fun track to drift all over. Luigi Circuit is a bit odd to see as the last track in the cup, but it doesn't bother me. I love this track here just as much as I do in Double Dash. It is fun chaos to have players
players driving towards each other in this weird circular formation, and I enjoy all the boost pads or drifting options, and the massive chain chomp to ruin your day. Again, of course, that'd be very fun to return in the future of Mario Kart. And with the completion of the Shell Cup, we move into the Banana Cup and the first of the Holy Trinity, and a prequel to our Lord and Savior, Donut Plains 3. Donut Plains 1 is clearly the pinnacle of Mario Kart tracks, which when I say that, I mean it's good. Much like Mario Circuit 1, it is fun to drift around and has some creative shortcuts via mushrooms and stars. The second track, Frapple's Snowland from 64, is a decently good track, but I do wish we had some more of the freedoms in later Mario Kart games to go into the snow and make our own shortcuts, but instead Lakitu takes you onto the track again. The snowmen return, but I will tolerate them. Otherwise, it's fairly enjoyable and a decent addition. Not the most interesting from 64, but it's a nice addition for the thematic variety and the winter-themed music. Bowser's Castle 2 from Super Circuit is a cool addition. I love all the jumps to take or avoid for the sake of speed, and the dash pads to narrowly zero in on. It has one of my favorite GBA themes, and is overall a classic addition I really enjoy, and a classic track that would be a good remake to be expanded upon, like how Mario Kart 7 had the glider section to Bowser's Castle 1. The fourth track, it's Baby Park. It's pure chaos, a lot of luck, and it's NASCAR, baby. That's what I've been waiting for. Ka-chow!
Why are the cars turning right? Right is not right.
It's an awesome addition. You can't go wrong with the madness and pure chaotic fun of it, and the theme that'll drive you insane across 5 laps. It's a perfect combination. And with the completion of the Banana Cup, we move forward and onward to the newly unlocked Leaf Cup. Not sure why it's called that. We don't have Mario's furry cosplay from Super Mario Bros. 3.
Now these are leaves. Classic Mario Kart.
When it comes to the first track of the cup, I'm likely in the minority here. I actually like Koopa Beach 2 from Super Mario Kart. I think it's interesting to have 2 paths to the finish line while avoiding the deep pockets of water that will assure your watery demise, and it's fun to drift around with enjoyable tropical music. I know not everyone will agree with me on this one, but I think it's a fairly fun time and a pretty decent track. When it comes to the second track, personally I prefer the classic version of Choco Mountain like this to the Choco Mountain remake of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I like the dense fog, the long curving turns, and the massive rocks that'll actually hit you if you're not too careful, all with wacky music that really fits this version of Choco Mountain. It's a really fun track in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's a great choice from Mario Kart 64. Definitely an iconic track from that game in my opinion. The third track of this cup, Luigi Circuit from Super Circuit, is a track that I actually really love. It has such a great theme, an airport while it's raining down on you, with music I really enjoy. That funky bass goes crazy, and a lot of fun turns to drift around. I'd love to see it modernized in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's DLC and how the rain would look. It would probably look beautiful on a track in Mario Kart 8. It's one of my favorite classic tracks in this game. Mushroom Bridge from Double Dash is just as great here and a great final track for the Leaf Cup. I love hitting the small transport trucks with a star, getting a mushroom from them, a mechanic that'd be awesome to return in a modern Mario Kart, with the same cool shortcut from Double Dash, and a great music theme that embodies busy city traffic. Definitely a track that needs to return in a modern Mario Kart game. And with the completion of the Leaf Cup, we unlock the final cup of the Retro Grand Prix, the Lightning Cup, moving into a track that I may describe as my personal hell. Choco Island 2 from Super Mario Kart is worse false advertisement than Red Bull saying it will give you wings. First off, it's not an island, this is literally a desert. That is fraud, unless it is referring to the small patch of sand in the mud, which is some bullshit. That is like saying Coney Island is an island. The ramps suck, they throw you everywhere, which they don't in Super Mario Kart, and I make it a point to avoid them, which in of itself is impossible, and just frustrating. The mud is not a fun gimmick here. I'm not a mud bud. It just makes you slower and changes general mechanics, and there aren't any boost pads or interesting additions or normal pathways like Luigi's Mansion. It is just generally boring. There aren't many redeeming qualities about this track, maybe some turns, but those are just turns, and I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Goodbye, Choco Island 2. Rest in peace, Bozo. Now, the second track, Banshee Boardwalk, is a pretty cool addition from 64. I like the spooky vibe of it, and it generally has some fun turns to drift around, and a cool abandoned house section with a sick fast shortcut that is hard to make. And I really like the Cheep chomp just jumping over. The music is fitting with all the booze coming up on your screen, and I like this addition, giving us another spooky track to race around, and it'd be fun enough to see return once again. The third track of the Lightning Cup, Sky Garden, is an enjoyable addition from Super Circuit. I really like the bubbly musical theme that plays, the shortcuts you can use with mushrooms and stars, and it's a generally fun track to drift around. I'm glad to see it return in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pack, fully revamped. Though I'd prefer the same color scheme of this version, the light green road and the orangish clouds that are pleasing to look at, along with Luigi's blimp. It reminds me of a Goodyear blimp, and it's just charming. It's a neat detail that I like to see across the game, such as it docked at Luigi Circuit in the previous cup and now flying high in the skies of Sky Garden. Yoshi Circuit is a great final addition from Double Dash to Lightning Cup. It isn't a short track, and it's a great way to end the journey through Mario Kart DS's Grand Prix, even if it's not as detailed as in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or in Double Dash previously. This track is great to race with other players on. It's so chaotic with some sections that like a long tunnel that puts players close together, and generally is fun to race around with the classic mushroom shortcut through the waterfall. There's a reason why this track returned again in Mario Kart 8's DLC, and I'm all for playing this this track anytime I boot up the 3 games it is in. And once again, as the credits roll, we unlock Daisy by getting a gold trophy on DCC Lightning Cup. The Mario Strikers Battle League fans can rejoice. She was not cut for Rosalina because Rosalina simply did not exist. There is no need to go in Nintendo's Twitter replies this time around, but free Melee though. With Daisy, we get her first exclusive kart, the Power Flower, a soccer mom SUV for a mom banned from playing soccer, truly iconic. It's a good enough kart and at least original. Her second exclusive kart is kinda lame. The Light Dancer is literally the Light Tripper. It's the same kart for a different character, which is kinda blasphemy. By placing first overall in the 150cc Nitro Cup, get a kart from another character for each character, like for example, Mario now gets to use the Light Tripper. It'd be a cooler unlock if you didn't get the even cooler unlock, all the karts for all the characters by placing first overall in the 150cc Mirror Retro Grand Prix, ultimately making it redundant, a weird choice considering it happened the next cup over. And by earning a gold trophy in the 100cc Lightning Cup, you unlock Waluigi as a playable character. Wait, what's that sound?
Woo! Those damn commies can't take him from us this time! USA! USA!
And with unlocking Waluigi, we unlock his first exclusive kart, the Gold Mantis, a weird one. He drives a backhoe. Damn, Waluigi, that's a little inappropriate for my 5-year-old ears.
Damn right. He's a true working class patriot. Brings a tear to my eye.
And his second exclusive kart, the Zipper, the first bike in the Mario Kart series, even if it is technically still classified as a kart, predates their inclusion in Mario Kart Wii. A pretty cool kart, and Toad looks pretty funny driving in it. How does he reach the handles and the pedals? Oh, and by placing first overall on 150cc, we unlock 150cc Mirror Mode introduced in Double Dash, and it's just as enjoyable as ever. I prefer some of the tracks in Mirror Mode. I think it's just a preference for left turns instead of right turns. Maybe because I'm left-handed, it's my bias.
I love watching the cars turn left, keep turning left, left is right!
And time trials in Mario Kart DS takes me back to my cross-country and track days. I could have been Goom Boss in a foot race, slow motherfucker. However, this mode does begin to show the limitations of Nintendo Wi-Fi connection mode. With the lack of an ability to share any time trials online, rather there are 32 Nintendo dev ghosts to race against, but you can only unlock them if you're close to their time, which is kinda lame. And of course, the ability to share time trials locally with your friends. However, I'll give it this. It's a DS game from 2005 pioneering online gaming on a handheld, and I can't fault it for not having all the features present in newer Mario Kart titles. Still a pretty great mode, and it was cool to race against my friend's time trial Ghost. It made for another fun, friendly competition. Versus mode is not particularly interesting in single player, so we'll definitely talk about it in the perspective of multiplayer mode. It has fairly robust game settings, such as the ability to choose your class, unlike America, 50cc, 100cc, 150cc, and 150cc mirror, and the ability to choose the CPU levels, easy, normal, and hard, and the ability to choose any track or play them in a random order or a normal order, and rules such as the amount of wins a player needs to end the session, or the amount of races that'll be played. The last option is a new introduction to the Mario Kart series, Team, the ability to split racers into 2 teams, a welcome addition. It makes for a new way to compete and play with friends, providing a different multiplayer dynamic in a room full of players. With all these options, multiplayer was fairly customizable and robust, much more than any other Mario Kart previously, which made for so many fun ways to play Mario Kart with my friends on the go, and obviously we never had 8 players, so the ability to set CPU difficulty was a must. However, what I just described is versus multiplayer mode when all players have Mario Kart DS. When it comes to download play, it is much more restrictive. It acts much more like a game demo for those who don't own Mario Kart DS, with the inability to change any of the game settings, and the ability to only play 8 tracks, those from the Mushroom and Shell Cups. I still think download play is good enough occasionally, and I understand Nintendo's incentive for wanting to sell their video games. Something tells me they like money. I just wish there was maybe at least half the tracks. However, one really cool aspect of download play, even if technically restrictive, is that it has an exclusive character that download play users exclusively use, Shy Guy.
Like, why is he even wearing a mask? Is he a liberal?
Nintendo has an entire character exclusive for download play, all with 8 multiple color variations chosen randomly for each player, which I think is actually really cool. This isn't something you really saw with any other game on the DS using download play. Sometimes my friends and I would play download play just to play as Shy Guy. You can't play as him any other time, which I think is much cooler than him being a character normally that download play users are just restricted to. It's a pretty cool incentive. And what I can't leave out when it comes to multiplayer gaming in Mario Kart DS, battle mode was a fun distraction whenever you got tired of racing, and definitely a great battle mode for the Mario Kart series, with 2 battle modes, Balloon Battle and Shine Runners, and 6 maps to play on. Balloon Battle debuted in Super Mario Kart and has appeared in every Mario Kart game since. In this mode, players use items to hit the other players to pop one of 3 balloons and can steal balloons as long as they don't have 3. In that case, the other player's balloon simply disappears. And if all balloons are popped, the player is out. Later installments such as Mario Kart Wii 7 and 8 changed this ladder mechanic, such as your score being based on the balloons popped rather than being the last player with balloons. Mario Kart DS does Balloon Battle a little differently. Players start with 1 balloon, have 4 balloons in reserve, 5 balloons in total, and can blow up those balloons by holding select or blowing it into the mic if you want to be winded, while sitting still, making you a sitting duck, adding a layer of strategy. First Captain Toad, now this. I really like Mario Kart DS Balloon Battle. It's one of the better ways of doing a last man standing version of Balloon Battle with you having more than 3 balloons and a new strategy making it easier to hit other players on the small DS top screen. While score-based Balloon Battle is much better for an online setting, I actually prefer last man standing Balloon Battle locally. It's easy to jump into from match to match of Balloon Battle, much like stocks in Super Smash Bros, while playing with friends, and adds an easier, more directly competitive way of playing Balloon Battle. Shine Runners is an exclusive battle mode to Mario Kart DS. You can only play this here. In this mode, 9 shine sprites are found on the battle arena, and the goal is to get more shine sprites than the opponents. Getting hit by an item causes the player to lose a shine sprite, and it's a timed match. When it reaches 0, any player with the fewest shine sprites gets removed from the game and the timer resets. If everyone has the same number, no one is removed and the process repeats until one player remains. I find this version of runners more compelling than coin runners in Mario Kart Wii 7 and 8. The shines are much more fun to steal, easier to steal, limited, and it makes it more competitive and chaotic. And the elimination aspect makes shine runners more interesting. In my opinion, this would be a cool mode to see return in a future Mario Kart title. I think it's more interesting than coin runners, which is currently present in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. When it comes to the first battle arena, Nintendo DS is such a goofy first arena, much like the GameCube arena, designed around driving around the console, but it's now with the addition of the handheld screens. It displays the game's menu screen as well, a very cool detail. It's fairly fun, even if it's a simple, silly arena. Twilight House is a cool battle arena with multiple rooms for shells to bounce off of with close quarters battling. The outside of the map around the square arena are thin stretches of pathways, another risky area to maneuver and battle on. I really like the aesthetic. It reminds me of a haunted house, and it's a pretty sick arena, perfect for battle mode.
Imagine a world where a content creator talks about Mario Kart DS from 2005 for upwards of 40 minutes, with your only escape being a red X at the top of the screen, or a suggestions tab tailored to your very interests, ultimately controlling your thoughts and beliefs based on an algorithm. This world is only possible in the Twilight Zone.
Palm Shore is fairly standard and generic. It's set on an island with a tide coming in and out around a center island with an island shaped like a ring around it. It's fun enough, but it's not really noteworthy by any means. Tartop is an arena set on a colorful cake. It has a cool gimmick that the item boxes are centered in the middle of the cake, with dash pads flying you in the air to get them. I wish more item boxes were located around the arena. It makes it much more chaotic, but it is still a good fun arena with those frosted strawberries that bounce you around if you hit them. N64 Block Fort is a classic battle arena with a lot of vertical height with its ramps and allows you to go around the arena with bridges several stories up, making for a generally fun and wacky battling experience, especially in Balloon Battle, as when you get knocked off all the way to the bottom, you're often within the center of the map where all the hell breaks loose. GCN Pipe Plaza from Double Dash is a pretty fun battle arena, lined with pipes on the bottom portion of the arena transport you to the top graded portion, which makes for a fun gimmick of chasing other players to take out their balloons or their shine sprites, or to line a pipe with items to force a player to Tokyo Drift or perish. Overall, this was a great addition, especially one that is simpler and smaller for a handheld Mario Kart title. As we begin to tackle mission mode, let's talk about a few objectives of standard mission mode missions, such as winning against the CPU on a certain track, performing a certain amount of drifts in a certain amount of laps, collecting a certain amount of coins, going through a certain amount of numbered gates in a certain order, defeating a certain amount of enemies, breaking a certain amount of item boxes or crates, getting to a part of the track under certain conditions, such as driving backwards or not hitting a certain enemy, and completing tasks within a time limit. Mission mode is such a unique addition for Mario Kart. It adds a new single-player option that players can enjoy independent of the standard single-player offerings of Grand Prix and time trials, and is ultimately a very unique combination of Grand Prix, time trials, and battle mode, with challenges that are based on the general ideas of those modes, or elements of battle mode, like moving around a track to take out enemies, similar to taking out players, or having balloons that count as your lives against a boss. However, certain elements, such as collecting a certain amount of coins, driving through numbered gates, or breaking a certain amount of item boxes or crates, are elements not really present in any other mode, and ultimately make for unique challenges. I really do enjoy a majority of these challenges, except for driving backwards a lot of the time. It's interesting, but oh boy, can it be frustrating when there are a bunch of crates blocking my way, or the spinning bar in Bowser's Castle. I enjoy the unique way the developers customize and manipulate the normal tracks fit within interesting mission categories, like driving through numbered gates on the main pinball machine section of Waluigi Pinball, or utilizing the shortcuts on Donut Plains 1, or collecting coins while avoiding the chain chomp on GCN Luigi Circuit. They're fun ways to add challenges with the unique attributes of these tracks that is ultimately compelling. I both enjoy the challenges that are not central to Mario Kart's gameplay, like taking out Pokies with bombs in Desert Hills, or much more central, like getting a certain amount of drifts on GBA Luigi Circuit and beating Yoshi in a race on Yoshi Falls. These multiple approaches make for an overall compelling mode with variety that keeps you playing and interested in what new challenges developers will offer up within this general framework. Mission mode also includes a ranking system, much like the normal Mario Kart Grand Prix in this game, utilizing 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 stars, A, B, C, and D to denote ranking. And while it works fine enough, even if feeling a bit arbitrary in single-player Grand Prix, it feels much more at home in mission mode, where the swiftness and the obvious objectiveness of these challenges make me want to come back and achieve a 3-star ranking on all missions, while the Grand Prix I ultimately find to be an endeavor much less appealing appealing. In terms of organization, mission mode is organized into 9 missions across 7 levels, with the last mission encompassing a boss battle with a boss from Super Mario 64 and Super Mario 64 DS, definitely influenced by the release of Super Mario 64 DS a year previously with the Nintendo DS. Big Bully, the first level boss, and Cheep Chili, the 6th level boss, are similar boss fights, utilizing mushrooms from item boxes to knock them off the stage, with Cheep Chili being a much trickier fight, much like Super Mario 64 DS, with him jumping off if you try to knock him off the stage from too far. These are simple but fit well within the limitations of driving around in a cart and are ultimately pretty fun. The iRock boss fight, the 2nd level boss fight, was cleverly done in Mario Kart DS, with you hitting the hands with green shells rather than a punch or a dive like in Super Mario 64, which makes for a pretty cool boss fight. Goom Boss, the 3rd level boss, takes place on Baby Park, which is instead a race, where Goom Boss will knock you around if you get too close and will slow down to throw Goombas and the occasional mushroom towards you on the track, with him engaging in a final sprint at the end. I really like messing with the CPU, forcing him to make a weird circle where he jumps over the track and you as Toad are able to get way too far ahead. It's a fun boss fight, but stupid hard to actually get 3 stars on, and that kinda irks me. King Boo, the 4th boss, is a fairly unique boss fight, with King Boo periodically stealing coins from you as you drive around the arena collecting them, less so directly defeating him, but serving as a unique obstacle to your progress, which I think is actually a really interesting way to do a boss fight in the context of Mario Kart. Big Bomb, the 5th boss battle, is a fairly generic boss. You hit him with bombs you collect from item boxes as he tosses bombs at you. It makes sense and it's fairly fine. Wiggler, the 7th boss, is a similar fun boss battle to Goom Boss. As Mario, you race him on Mushroom Bridge, with you needing to figure out you can grab mushrooms from transport trucks to get 3 stars on the boss level, alongside the stars you collect from item boxes, which I don't think is too much to ask from players, but a clever mechanic to figure out I would otherwise have not known about from racing on Mushroom Bridge. Overall, I like the bosses of mission mode, and I think they are really creative single-player additions that flesh out mission mode and make it feel much more like an adventure. Sort of similar to adventure mode in Super Smash Bros. Melee or the Subspace Emissary to a certain extent in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Personally, I would love to see mission mode return in a future Mario Kart title. It was such a unique single-player experience that creatively used the unique attributes and mechanics of Mario Kart to form interesting challenges that made the game more interesting and more creative, and provided more content that players actually come back to with this game specifically. Going into Nintendo WFC mode, the inclusion of online multiplayer was a massive addition to the Mario Kart series, especially monumental considering it was achieved on a handheld, when only a few other titles had online multiplayer like Metroid Prime Hunters. In the late 2000s, it was awesome having the ability to play online with my friends, especially before the release of a more sizable Wi-Fi mode in Mario Kart Wii, while we were talking on my house phone of all things. However, Nintendo WFC mode feels more limited than expected, with only 20 of the 32 tracks available to play online and only the base character roster to play online, with the ability to at least play all the battle mode arenas in Balloon Battle and Shine Runners. Sadly, some of Mario Kart DS's best and most creative tracks were unavailable online, such as Shroom Ridge, Tick-Tock Clock, and Waluigi Pinball. Retro tracks that I love, such as GBA Luigi Circuit, GCN Mushroom Bridge, and N64 Banshee Boardwalk are also sadly not available. We do have Choco Island 2 to play on.
You, Choco Island 2!
Overall, though, this mode is an awesome addition, even if limitedly achieved, in which online play was introduced in the Mario Kart series with relative success and online stability, which is now a massive source of replayability for the Mario Kart titles, one in which has provided me hours of fun, laughter, and joy going on 17 years now. And in conclusion, after talking about Mario Kart DS for 44 minutes, a DS title from 2005, it was an innovative Mario Kart title that was integral towards developing modern Mario Kart, with its very DNA influential and found within Mario Kart 8 Deluxe today. Just the sheer amount of content in this game, introducing single-player content, fleshing out the experience, such as with the unique and necessary return mission mode, and the introduction of retro tracks, doubling the amount of tracks in Mario Kart for many titles after, allowing us to enjoy remakes of favorite tracks from the Mario Kart series, experiencing not just the nostalgia of those tracks, but the well-designed tracks that are just as enjoyable to play in a newer Mario Kart title, alongside the new creative tracks such as Waluigi Pinball, Tick-Tock Clock, Airship Fortress, and Delfino Square, which have become favorite staples of Mario Kart with Mario Kart DS, is this game's crowning achievement. The various creative carts, which was present in Double Dash but applied to a one cart per character format standard to Mario Kart, launched the Mario Kart series to have increasingly wacky, interesting carts to race with, such as the Poltergust 4000, the Rambi Rider, and the Hurricane. There is just so much to appreciate about this title, from the introduction of online play to its unique mission mode to its refining of mechanics such as drifting in the Mario Kart series and the first introduction of a character not from the Mario series. It is both a title players can comfortably come back to for nostalgia and for replayability with mission mode. While everyone may not feel the need to return to Mario Kart DS, it is still a game to appreciate for all it accomplished for a series I've poured thousands of hours into, and is close to my heart, and is my introduction to gaming, and sparked my love for the creativity and pure fun of gaming. Honestly, I'm really excited to see what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's DLC will bring us, if it will have Airship Fortress back, or Waluigi Pinball back. Holy fuck, is that Garfield in a cart? Fuck Mario Kart, I hate driving to work on Mondays too!